Focus, an important factor in creating any video game. The more time and attention you put into one part of a game means another part won't get as much. This balance of knowing what pieces deserve what amount of care is essential to making the best video game possible. So where does Forza place most of its attention? Cars, environments, and lighting. And it does wonders in making the game feel real and authentic, and with over 550 cars at launch and the largest map in Horizon history, this is the most ambitious Forza game to date. But is this a good thing? If what you're looking for is a game where you can drive a lot of different cars through a lot of different environments and have it look amazing, then Horizon 5 is going to please you. So where does this game fall short? Progression. For me, the best gameplay loop for any racing game is starting with a slow car, racing it, upgrading it, and racing faster cars until you can't upgrade that car anymore, and then buying a new car and starting over. The old Midnight Club and Need for Speed games did this the best in my opinion. This gameplay loop is addicting, rewarding, and paces the game incredibly well to get the most enjoyment out of the experience. With Horizon 5 and most of the other Horizon games, you start off with an incredibly fast car, and the game just keeps handing you obscene amounts of cars and money to the point where any sense of progression is completely ruined. Unless your goal is to collect every car in the game, you will be able to buy all the cars you want only a couple of dozen hours into the game, and upgrade them into unbeatable monsters. Less than 100 hours in, and I'm already scrolling through my massive car list trying to find a new car to drive that will cure some of this boredom. And speaking of the ability to modify the cars, the customization in Forza is outdated. The system of having staged upgrades for parts was first introduced in Gran Turismo, which Forza quickly borrowed. At this time, this system was leaps and bounds ahead of the arcade upgrade systems in games like Need for Speed, especially in instilling a sense of realism that Forza wanted its players to feel. But almost 2 decades later, Forza is still using this system, leaving it relatively unchanged, while games like Need for Speed have adopted it. Forza needs to upgrade its upgrade system to something that strikes an even better balance between video game accessibility and real life. Maybe this is something that would be better to experiment with in the more simulation-focused Forza Motorsports titles, but that doesn't excuse the fact that this system is long outdated. And as a quick aside, the visual customization in this game is severely lacking. With the removal of the Rocket Bunny wide-body kits and the decision to not change the ugly default rear wing, they really need to add more visual customization options in the coming updates. So far, I haven't mentioned how the driving feels in this racing game, but I have to give credit where credit is due. The driving mechanics in this game are amazing, striking that perfect balance between simulation and arcade that Forza has become famous for. And the newly reworked steering mechanics feel amazing. While you can't ever really turn off the assisted steering, even with the simulation steering turned on, it is not noticeable to anybody that doesn't play real simulation racing games. And this assisted steering helps to keep players on the road and having fun, even when their skills may not match the power of the cars that they're driving. But how the cars feel to drive is only half of what makes a racing game's driving fun. The other half is the AI of the cars that you are racing. So how does Forza Horizon 5 handle this? Poorly. On the harder difficulties, the AI straight up ignores the game's physics engine, making it nearly impossible to beat them without resorting to dirty and unrealistic racing tactics. On the easier difficulties, the AI barely tries. A difficulty where the AI is challenging but fair just doesn't exist. On top of this, because you always start in the middle of the pack and the races are only a couple of laps, there isn't enough time to use your skills to get into first while also racing like you would in real life. So instead, you're forced to bump and bash your way to the front of the pack, destroying any sense of realism that the game's visuals are desperately trying to instill into you. The AI don't feel like challenges to conquer, but instead like obstacles to bypass. And if the game's AI was better, maybe it would be more fun to do races and the jank progression in Horizon would be more tolerable, but as it stands, 1 time per race is enough for me. So back to that initial question of focus. What do I think Forza Horizon should be focused on? Well, I think that Forza Horizon wants to be too much. It wants to be a street racing game like Need for Speed, a rally and off-roading game like Dirt, and a track racing game like their motorsports titles. Personally, I'm not in love with the rally and off-roading aspects of the game, So if they were to cut those in favor of crafting a more complete street racing experience, I would be fine. Additionally, I don't need hundreds and hundreds of cars in my racing games. Just a few dozen really well done cars that I can customize to my heart's content and really make feel my own. If Forza were to make a game that combined their unique blend of SimK driving mechanics with the map and racing of a game like Need for Speed or Midnight Club, updated their modification system, redid their progression and pacing, and wrapped it in some beautiful graphics, I think we would have the greatest racing game to ever hit the market. But I'm just one guy with one set of opinions. What do y'all think? And until next time, keep having fun, you idiots. Oh, and don't get me started on the terrible story and voice acting.